Can I just talk to Richard Grogan, the solicitor, please? Because he is just knocking it out of the park on Instagram. He's giving advice constantly to people who have issues regarding consumer issues, employment issues, and a lot of COVID-y related stuff. And all of this legal advice he's giving it away for free, which in itself is extraordinary. He joins me by phone. Richard, good morning.
Good morning to you, Neil. How are you?
I'm very good. That's the law, and that's a fact. And I took a look at your stuff on Instagram. Why are you giving away all of this information, all of these learned skills of yours, when you could be making money charging for it?
Look, Neil, there's a whole issue here now, and the legal profession, the solicitor's profession, I'm just one of them. As a profession, we've always been doing this, and I just got onto Instagram and I said, these are short snippets of pieces of information to people. Nobody wants to have litigation, and there's a lot of the stuff that's coming up is small things that somebody needs to go and talk to their employer about, or that the employer needs to sort of understand. Small little things that can create problems in a workplace that nobody needs to have in a workplace. So when I say that's the law and that's a fact, it just kind of helps people get over difficulties and make a workplace a little bit better for people. Yeah,
and in these COVID times, some of the questions you're being asked are connected to COVID. Like I saw one that keeps coming up on your Instagram, and you do these 30-second, 40-second, 60-second max responses. And one has to do with going on holidays. Talk to me about that.
All right, the issue of going on holidays is I think a lot of people don't understand the holiday rules, and they think this is it. We're going flying out to wherever, and they actually forget that they have to look at what the rules are where you're flying to. So that's an issue, and then there's going to be issues flying back as well. So, but really, it's a question of understanding the rules. And most people are looking at the Irish rules, but you might be looking at the French or the Portuguese rules. So, for example, if you're going to Portugal, even if you're vaccinated, you now actually have to get a negative PCR or antigen test,
even if you have the vaccine cert.
Yeah, so even if you decide to get on the plane, which you will be able to get on at Dublin Airport or Cork, and you fly out, you suddenly find yourself that you're going to have to take a test there in the airport before you're allowed out of the place. So that could mean you lose a connection. So it's very important that you check on the other side. And this is just simple sort of consumer information and issues that people need to know about. So I put that up because people are concerned what happens when they're coming back. There's a lot of things about companies saying that when you come back from holidays that you have to self-isolate. And some of them are putting a sort of a blanket one on even places that you don't have to self-isolate. So, I mean, you have to put that out.
And you answer this in your Instagram, is an employer allowed to ask you where you're going on your holidays?
The Data Protection Commission would say no. All that you're entitled to ask is it safe for you to come back to the workplace? That's all that can be asked.
So they can't say, where are you going? Can they say, you need to isolate at home for a week just so we can be sure you're okay before you come back to work, and you need to do it on your own time?
They can say we want you to isolate at home. They could have you isolate at home for 2 weeks if they like. But unless there's a legal requirement for you to isolate at home, in those circumstances the employer has to pay you, and it's not extra holidays. It is most definitely not extra holidays. And if you have to isolate at home, that is not holiday time. Just to let you know, the Organisation Working Term Act is very specific. Holidays are for rest and relaxation, not to have to sit in your bedroom.
So forced quarantine in the workplace upon return is not enforceable unless you're paid?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. You talk about data protection, GDPR and stuff like that. Where does data protection and GDPR come in with people being asked to show a vaccine cert at the door of a pub or a restaurant?
The government got over that problem by providing that the restaurant doesn't keep a record of it.
Do they keep a record of your details in a restaurant or a pub?
Well, they would have to keep contact tracing records, but they're not keeping records of whether you've got a vaccination certificate or you've got one of the other authorizations to go in, or that you're under 18 years of age. So they're not keeping any records per se, other than contact details, which are needed for health and safety. So the government got over the GDPR issue of restaurants having to retain records. But by the way, that they also have the thing that if somebody comes to check on the restaurant, they have no records.
So a compliance officer can walk into a restaurant to check, but what is he or she actually going to be checking?
Nothing. They're going to say, this is an Irish solution to an Irish problem, because what they've done on this is the compliance officer comes in and says, is everybody supposed who's here allowed to be here? And they go, yes. And how do you know that? Well, we checked. Can you prove that you checked? Well, no, because I can't keep any records. Now, the compliance officer then, let's say they're going to go around the tables, which the government say they're not going to do. But let's say one of them goes to the table and they say to somebody, are you entitled to be in here? And they go, yes. And can you show me the certificate? And they go, no, you've no right to ask for that. That's the way they've drafted the legislation. So it's an Irish solution to an Irish problem. You're supposed to check. The compliance officer then can't check that you have checked.
That makes no sense to me. I mean, I think people would be happy to know that compliance officers won't walk around looking for you to prove. That's like saying, show me identification, show me your papers.
Yeah, well, that's right. But if a compliance officer goes in, let's say somebody phones in a complaint, just take that as an example.
Yeah.
There's no method for a compliance officer to check.
So if they went into a pub, they would have no idea whether people are entitled to be in there or not, or whether they're carrying a digital certificate or a printed copy or a QR code on their phone, because they can't ask.
No, unless the government bring in a regulation, they're entitled to request information, and they can talk to you, but they've no power to enforce you to produce any documents.
That'll hardly happen if they go on their holidays, though, will it?
Well, I mean, the position on it is the people that they're having do the checking their contracts actually are 9 to half 5 people. This is why I'm saying it's the perfect Irish example of an Irish solution to an Irish problem. You bring in very, very rigid legislation, and then you put in no method of checking it. So basically, what they've said is, and the government have been talking about, buy-in from the population.
That's
so basically, that's what we brought in the legislation. The legislation is there, and off you go. We'll trust you to do, to put on the green jersey and play according to the rules. But if you don't play according to the rules, well, there's no way that we can check out whether you've broken the rules, because there's nobody to check.
And that leads me actually to another thing that's not dissimilar to that, and that is Tony Holohan saying this morning, kids can go into restaurants, under 18s can go into restaurants and bars, but don't do it. It's not enforceable by law, but don't do it all the same.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the issue that we have. What we have in this country is we've got the Health and Safety Authority, we've got the HSE, we've got the Data Protection Commissioner, and we have NEFIT, and the government. And there's no coordination. So everybody is running, doing their own thing. So, what Dr. Holohan said is advice, and that is advice. And I'm a solicitor, I take the advice of doctors, but it's only advice. So I'm entitled, if I have children under the age of 18, to say, no, I'm not going to follow that.
What about staff then? Do you get any queries from staff and questions on your Instagram from unvaccinated staff who would be working in scenarios like that? And vaccinated people can pass on COVID. Are they wondering about their rights, I wonder?
Yes, they are. No, I mean, the position in relation to staff in the restaurants is, we have a situation where you're going to be allowed in if you're vaccinated, or let's take the vaccinated people in for 1 hour 45 minutes, but you can be serving on tables for 8 hours or 10 hours.
Chalk it down.
And you're not vaccinated. Now, the other issue is that in relation to workplaces, the HSA guidelines still apply, so that people have to be at least 1 metre or 2 metres apart. Now, that means that you shouldn't be coming in contact with somebody within 1 metre. So if you're serving a table, how do you deliver the steak? Does everybody else stand up and walk back, put the mask on and walk back, or do you put it on the floor for them to come up and pick it off?
That's not going to happen.
No, but equally, and we say more in the kitchen, that would be 2 metres apart. Now, in those situations, if an employee turns around and says, well, hold on a moment, there's people coming too close to me, and I don't know if they're vaccinated, and by the way, the employer can't ask anybody if they're vaccinated, so that's a problem. And even if they tell them, they can't retain the record of it. The employee says, well, anybody comes within 2 metres of me in the kitchen, I'm moving back the 2 metres. And there's any detriment to the employee in that situation, then they're down to the Workplace Relations Commission with a claim under the Safety, Health and Welfare of Work Act.
Oh, God. And there's bound to be employees who will do that, aren't there?
Well, there will be, yes, there will be, but there will be some, there will be a lot of people who will have genuine concerns. They'll walk in. I mean, I've got questions in from people saying, when we're going back in, this is not vote for restaurants because they've been open, but, what's the position about a deep clean before we go back in? But there's going to be people who are in there. You're going to have people who may have an underlying health issue that are working in a restaurant. Genuine reasons that they will have a concern about it. So what we've done in this country...
But they'll have masks on, the staff, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if the masks were the sole protector, why would we be bothering about rules about opening up anything? So the answer on it, the masks are there, the hand washing is there, the sanitizing is there, and the social distancing is there. So social distancing is going to be the problem, and an employee is entitled to turn around in a restaurant and say, "I want the social distancing applied."
Yeah.
End of story. And if not, I'm making a complaint to the Health and Safety Authority, and I'm not going to go within the requisite distance of anybody. And if they're told, well, you can go home now, because I'm not paying you to stand around and put the steak on the floor. The answer will be, right, I'll see you in the WRC.
Oh, for God's sake, man. That's incredible, isn't it?
They didn't bring they could have brought in the rules and said, by the way, there's no social distancing in restaurants. But if you go into a restaurant, you have to be, a table that you're at has to be either 1 metre or 2 metres apart. So you're sitting there having your meal and you have to be kept distant from other patrons, but the staff don't have to be kept distant from themselves.
Doesn't make sense. It does leave it open to interpretation first and possible legal action from unvaccinated staff members. How many queries do you say get on a daily or weekly basis? Do you get many?
Well, I think anybody who's doing employment law at the present time, the issue on it is, it's what day do you not get 30 or 40 questions? I mean, there's an awful lot of questions come in, and an awful lot of it is because there's a lack of information.
Yeah.
There's a lack of information. There's misinformation going out. I've tried on my Instagram to give, this is what the law is.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving it. I don't give up.
No, it's short, it's punchy, it's to the point, it's fantastic. And do you find by giving this information for free on Instagram that it boosts your traditional business? Are you busier because of it?
Well, I suppose I'm reasonably well known in the employment law area, so it's not something that I did for that reason.
Yeah.
I did it because as a solicitor, and by the way, there's some brilliant solicitors down in Cork are doing, handing out free information every day. The legal profession does this.
I never got free information from a solicitor in my life. It's usually €400 an hour. I'd love to know the one that would give it to me for free.
Well, I know there's a lot of great solicitors down in Cork and in Munster, and you go onto their website and there's very useful information there, basic information from everything from buying a house to making a will. The whole thing is there. The profession has always been known to do this, and I'm just doing it in a different way. And there's others that do the same thing as me. I'm just trying to do it as short and sharp and to the point, and to give people, information that is not readily available, and sometimes to say to people, look, a lot of the questions that I get come back with a yes or no answer.
Yeah, yes, and I love I love the idea that they're asking you the question. You're not anticipating it. They're asking and you're giving the direct answer. So let's encourage more people to get in touch with you, as if you're not busy enough already. Richard Grogan, solicitor, on Instagram. Have a good weekend. Anything planned for the summer? Will you be going visiting a pub or a restaurant yourself?
Myself? Well, yes. I am going down to West Cork, and the first week there in August, going down to Skib. And I'm very much looking forward to getting into Calbo's in Skib to have coffee, because now she claims to have the best brownies in the world, but she's wrong on that. She's claiming it. They are the best brownies in the world. So I'll be sitting outside. I'll be sitting outside Calbo's, having my coffee and enjoying it down there, and going to Fields and going to the church restaurant And
the church restaurant in Skive is just a glorious place.
It is, and look, West Cork is great, and I would say to people, if you're going to go on holidays, but the one thing I would say to people is, remember you're going into a town, and respect it on that basis, and keep the social distancing. Yeah. It's going to be hard, but it's important because we don't want another surge, and we want to keep every business open and keep the towns and the whole of Cork going well. So, we've got lots of friends out there, and there's some great solicitors in West Cork, so I usually meet up with them for coffees and things like that. So it's I really like getting down there.
Enjoy the break. West Cork's a beautiful place to be. Richard, lovely chatting with you. Perhaps we get an opportunity to chat in the future. I'll encourage people to go and check you out on Instagram. Appreciate you taking the call. Have a great day.
Neil Prendeville, the voice of Cork. Weekdays 9 to 12. Cork's Red FM. Red FM.